It's Caribbean Takeover Week. So let's start by meeting who I'm chatting to today. We have Arica and Nakita. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourselves and tell me what your role is out in the Caribbean?
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Arica, and I am the Caribbean lead for Fauna and Flora, which means that I help to manage and support the entire Caribbean region, and it's super exciting work. Also, I'm from the beautiful island of Antigua and Barbuda.
All right, and I'm Nakita, and I'm the program manager for the Caribbean, originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but I actually live in Antigua and Barbuda.
Oh, thank you. So what's it like working in the Caribbean? What's like a typical day for you both?
I don't know that there's a typical day.
Yeah.
So I think the beauty is that, like, for right now, we are currently in Antigua and Barbuda, which means that we are in our office and we're working from our desks doing exciting reports. On another week, we may be in, like, I might be in St. Lucia, kind of checking in on our programming there and working along with our program manager, Adams, who's doing amazing work with CMOS and marine protected areas and racers and all sorts. And then the following week, I may be heading over to our partners in Anguilla to see what they're up to. So it kind of depends on how the program is working, but generally, we're just in the Caribbean. I don't know. It's great.
I feel that's something that you've mentioned to me before, that and something you really want to get across during this takeover is just how different all of the Caribbean islands are and how different all the projects are. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would actually even add to that. It's that, so while Nakita was supporting work on doing the conservation action plan with our other partner, Rewild, so we're partnering together on this whole developing conservation action plans. I was in a separate meeting working with government and stakeholders in Antigua and Barbuda on developing their national biodiversity strategic action plan. So
Mhm.
it's almost like you're always split into multiple persons because there
Mm.
are so many different partners and each island has its own specific requirements, and there are government agencies who respond differently to action that needs to be taken. They're all proactive, but it's a different response. And so you have to even switch your brain a bit to accommodate what is needed in St. Lucia as opposed to what's needed in Antigua or what's needed in Anguilla.
Mm.
And so while I think a lot of people, when you think of the Caribbean region, you're kind of thinking probably palm palm trees and white sands and a margarita in hand. I will tell you that palm trees don't all grow in all islands. All islands don't have white sand, and margaritas may not be our drink of choice. So every island is really very varied. Every island is, while they may be small, like Antigua and Barbuda, it's 100,000 people tops.
Mm.
But you have to consider that even within these small regions, these small islands, each island has very different responses to environmental management, and those have to
Mm.
be taken into consideration. So it's interesting and it's very, very varied.
So I think, even though conservation's really difficult, I think we're quite lucky to work in conservation because it's something that we love doing, right? But
Yes.
we all have bad days. So can you tell me what a bad day looks like for you? What happens when something goes wrong and what does that look like?
Last year, July 1st, I was leaving St. Lucia, having had a really good time, met really good partners, was excited about the work, was excited to get home so that I could kind of write up my reports and get started on something new. And that day, we it was actually almost difficult to get out of St. Lucia because there was this massive storm that was heading our way, and it was Hurricane Beryl. And as barrel was barreling towards us. I'm really grateful I was able to get back home. But at the same time, one of our partners, which is the Union Island Environmental Alliance, they were completely devastated by this hurricane. The island was completely destroyed. 90% of all infrastructure was destroyed. And today is the 3rd of February, and they have still not recovered. And so our challenge then is how do we develop this new way of doing conservation that can be wiped out by a major storm, that can be wiped out by a hurricane, or rather a season of significant heat. Where coral reaching is definitely going to happen, where anything is possible. And because we're small, because our economies are small, because the resources are limited, the ability to bounce back from those events is almost near impossible. And so it really calls into question not just it calls into question what you can really do, and also kind of highlights the real value of conservation within this region.
Yeah, wow. You're kind of reinventing how to do conservation because of those storms and how fragile your work is in a way. That's amazing, yeah.
Yes.
So it's Caribbean Takeover Week. People are seeing lots of content from the Caribbean. What's one thing you would want someone else to be able to tell someone about the Caribbean? So someone's seen some of your content, they want to tell one of their friends about how great the Caribbean is. What would you want them to tell someone?
You want to go first, or do I go?
I mean, honestly, just how diverse it is. Just again, so many different islands, so many different projects, so many different partners, but also just the fact that the Caribbean region is a biodiversity hotspot, and we're looking at so many different species across the board, whether it's terrestrial, whether it's marine, whether it's a tree, whether it's a reptile, whether it's a bird. There's just so much work going on. And I think that also in terms of fauna and flora's presence, we've been in the region for 30 years, and they're incredible success stories as well. And so there's so much to tell. There's so much to see. There's so much to say. And, it's not just one thing. It's all of it.
Yeah, totally.
For me, I think it's that this work is being led by really amazing and dynamic people who have gotten into a field that within the Caribbean is not traditional. This is not what I grew up knowing as an option for work. So many of them have actually stepped out into really, uncharted territory to do something that they think is important. And the need for their consistent and constant support is really critical. Like if people are able to see what they're doing and either donate to their cause or give up their time and their energy, I think all of that is so important. So not just kind of go like, I liked it on Instagram and that's great, but take a step forward to really provide your time, your talent, and your treasure to what happens in the Caribbean.
Nice. Cool. So now we can do a little wrap up. So how do you want to see off and say goodbye to everyone who's been enjoying the Caribbean Takeover?
You have to count us off though, Jack.
Okay, here we go. This is goodbye from the Caribbean team. 3, 2, 1.
Let's save nature together.
Love it. Perfect.